let go of being the perfect mother, the perfect woman, the perfect wife, the perfect human, and open your heart to yourself as a whole person, someone who both gets it right, gets it wrong, and then everything in between, and connect with each other. Do not put other women down. That's never going to help you. It's never going to help us change the way that being a woman has been pathologized. So much about being a woman was made scientific illness, that we're emotional and hysterical. So I think unless we merge together, connect together, and sing our own songs, then we'll just have more of the same.
Hi, it's Nicole Sharanam, and welcome back to Connectedly. You're going to absolutely love today's episode with Parvati. If you have ever felt overwhelmed by societal expectations and the pressures of motherhood, and you're ready to break free from societal norms to rediscover the true essence of womanhood, connection, and self, then tune in. So today we embark on a journey of rebellion through connection, exploring the multifaceted world of motherhood and womanhood. Parvati, a wise healer and guide, shares insights on letting go of perfection, composting the patriarchy, and forging authentic connections. So together, we're going to celebrate the beauty of imperfection and the power of community. Plus, join a journey into connection with a 5-minute live meditation. It's powerful stuff. Parvati lives in Newcastle and works one-on-one to walk with people through different aspects of their lives that present as problematic or challenging, to really support that person in being able to walk as authentic and as strong a version of themselves in the world, with full hearts. So through meditation, energy healing and singing, Parvati is a true priestess. Tune in to discover how you can embrace your true self and create positive change in your life and the world around you. So let's get straight into it. Please welcome Parvati. Hi, Parvati. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It is such an honor to have you here. As a woman who is very dear to my heart, you are seriously one of the kindest, strongest, wisest, most loving people I think I've ever had the pleasure of crossing paths with. So what an opportunity to be able to share that flow of wisdom and love that you have with everybody else. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Nicole. It's a joy to be here. The feeling is entirely mutual. I love so much about you too, and the joyful way in which you're wanting to help and serve in the world. Very exciting. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. That's so beautiful. So Parvati, can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do? Because I think there's so many different ways I could try to describe what it is that you do. And words might not quite do it justice from my end. So I think it's best if you introduce yourself and what drew you to doing what it is that you do.
Okay. So hi, I'm Parvati. Lots of people know me as Sue as well. Parvati's a name that I was given by my former spiritual teacher, Shakti Durga. And what do I do? I was, I always have a response to that question, because I don't know that there's a name, because I think, and that's for a few reasons. One is it's always changing. It's always evolving how I operate in the world and how I work with people. But essentially, I think what I do is through one-on-one work. I work with people doing, I guess, energy healing would be a term for it. If you want to lock it down into modern new age parlance, I think I do a bit of spiritual coaching, but I would rather say that I feel like what I do is I walk with people through different aspects of their lives that present as problematic or challenges or wounds. And I walk with them in a way, hopefully, that supports a strength building in the person to be able to walk as an authentic, strong version of themselves in the world with full hearts. I think I'm a love coach, for want of a better word. And when I say that, I don't mean the flattened out, superficial, fluttery love. I mean the love that is deep and wide and far and abiding, even when it says no. What else? Yeah. And I do that through meditations, one-on-one healings, group work, singing, various things. Yeah.
It's wonderful. It is hard to put you down to just one label, and I mean, why should we really?
Yeah.
But what an amazing I can attest to it. I think I've worked with you for a long time now, and I think you have just brought so much love into my life and clarity, and you've certainly walked me through a lot in my life. So thank you. So what I would love to start, I guess, in what really drew you to start in what you're doing? Why do you do what you do? Where was Parvati way back when you went, I
Okay.
know what I want to do?
Well, again, I think that continues to be an unfolding, ever-changing thing. When I have always loved I've always been a person who has felt their way through life, who has where the emotional body, that gut pull or the heart pull has been what's been there. I'm someone who seemed to have very little I was born with very little filter on my emotional expression, which felt like a really horrible thing in my childhood. The myth or my legend in my family is I was born angry, which may very well have been. But I think what I've had is this really strong emotional lead in my life. And so it's not a often my mind takes a while to catch up with why I've done something or where I'm at. And that's been both a great thing and a not great thing. I was raised a Christian in my childhood. I always loved ceremony and ritual of that. I loved and love the essential essence of Jesus, and that's the stories and the teachings around love and particularly inclusion, you know, those messages. Then, like many people, fell out of love with Christianity when I became a teen. And that I think was for lack of a truly wise teacher in that field. I don't know that in my circumstances, in my environment, there was necessarily a priest or a representative of the church who could answer deep questions that I had. And so I lost interest, I think. And then a few years later, in my mid teens, my dad committed suicide. And so for about 10 years, I wandered around being happy with friends and stuff, but this unhealed wound, was in me. And around 25, I realized that I just had to resolve this inner question that I had. And the inner question literally was, what happens to you after you commit suicide? I knew at that point that Christianity had given me their version of what happened. So I knew that Christianity had not offered me an answer to that question that was suitable or acceptable to me at that point. Didn't feel true in my heart. And that began and I really asked that question to the sky, to the everything. I didn't know at that point about my sense of what divine or God or goddess was. I know it now as the animate everything everywhere. And that's who I was asking my question to. So then I just through a series of my gut calling me or my heart calling me into things, I went to meditation groups for a while. I practiced Wicca for a little while, loved the nature aspect of that, and the seasonal cyclic kind of aspect of that practice. And then through a series of events, I met a woman who at that time was called Kim Fraser. And I was gifted a healing session with her that changed my freaking life. I kid you not. I had an experience in a healing with her where a full 3D movie unfolded before my eyes of a past event like centuries ago. Now, for me, I feel a kinship with past lives. But even if it weren't past lives, it could have been a memory of an ancestor. Who knows? But I had a full 3D movie that kind of unfolded before my eyes where I'd done a terrible thing. And through a series of forgiveness and really heartfelt repentance, because it was a terrible thing, that got cleared. That got cleared. And so in that one session, I went from somebody who I had like an active nervous system, and I had equal capacity for joyful outburst, angry outburst, fearful outburst. Like the volume could go up really high, really fast. And so I came out of that session and it was like I had taken party stimulants for about 6 weeks. Like I was expansive and peaceful and happy and joyful without the flariness of it. But at the end of that session, I opened my eyes from it and I said to her, "Oh my God, I have to learn how to do that." And she said, "I think you do." And that began a 23-year study with her in a school. And I've had the privilege of being with someone and observing them transform before my eyes into a more whole human, if I can call it that. And so, yeah, studied closely with her. She's my very good friend. And after about 23 years, was given guidance to leave that school, which I've done. Yeah. And so, again, I think it's been a process of following a call. My whole life has been a process of following a call. I just didn't know it was a call from the animate everything everywhere. Like everyone else, I just thought it was me doing that. So that's kind of how I got here. I think I've answered your question. I'm not sure.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, you have. You have. So I've got so many questions, and
Okay.
I do want to get into the happiness and connection side of things. But before I do that, how do you said you realized eventually that it was the call. And many of us walk around wondering what our call is, or, is that my call? How do you know? How do you know it's a call? How do
Um,
you know it's?
well, it took me like 40 something years to figure out it was a call. To learn and to, study lots of various paths and wisdom paths and I don't want to say all spiritual paths because a lot of them were cultural paths. Like there was deep study of Hinduism, and to me that's I've come to realize it's a very animate practice. It's not so it's part of culture rather than a spiritual path, which we in modern society would see as a separate thing to our regular life. Am I making sense? So it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
lots of being called to delve into different things, to find different ways in order for me to find my connection with that. I'll keep calling it the animate everything. I would call her with a capital H, she with a capital S, because she's creative and destructive. And we know that potency is a feminine thing in the world. It's not to say that there aren't the masculine traits contained within her. There are, definitely. So, what does the call feel like to me? Well, now, after years of training, it feels like a constant companionship and a constant communication. So, for instance, I was just in peace. I sit in peace whenever I want to connect with her. I send love whenever I want to connect with her because that's the way to call anything really that we're seeking. I offer love. And so I had a question last night, and I was asking her to do something for me, which is both a good thing to do and a really kind of, bit of an egoic thing to do as well. But I was asking her for something and thought, okay, I've asked her that. And I was about to drop off to sleep and she said, well, and I felt this very clear in a plain voice. So it's not like we're hearing each other now, but it's like you would hear a memory of a conversation, that kind of thing. Um, she said, well, if you do the research and gather up the information required, then I can provide I can answer that prep kind of thing. But it was a real I I can't just ask her and she'll do everything for me. It's not like you're ordering up room service. But I feel her as a rule in things, sometimes a quiet vroom, sometimes a loud vroom. And I think, yeah, how do you know it's a call? I guess what I did was I also prayed for about a year straight, years and years ago, probably nearly 2 decades ago. Please show me the difference between a thought and an intuition.
Mm.
And so that came to me over a while. It's subtler than a thought. It's subtler. It's not the divine with a microphone going, "Attention, Nicole. I'm here to give you some guidance right now."
That
Um,
would be lovely, though. I would like that.
yeah, but I guess not in the way that we've been taught to expect it would be that way. It still happens that the divine or the oneness or the animate everything is going, "Attention, Nicole. I have a I have an important announcement for you." The divine, if we can't hear that or feel that as a pull or an invitation, will then start to put things in our way, like the stub of a toe, the bang of a knee, and those "Attention, Nicole, I have an announcement for you." They get louder as events in our lives until we stop and go, "Oh, hang on, is someone calling my name?" kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 I get that. So this is great. So this is a good segue. So a lot of what we talk about with Connectedly is about connection, and is that then what you would call connection? Let's talk a
Oh,
bit about that. What do you describe connection as? What is it to you?
whoa. Okay. So it's been different things over the years at different times. For some time, connection felt like friendship and relationship, of course. It's always felt like a relationship with various places. And it's always felt like when it's a relationship with the divine, it's felt like a relationship kind of thing. Now for me, it's that and union. So if I can if I can say my understanding or my realization around connection or my experience and the way I live it is more along the lines of animate cultures, hunter gatherer cultures. And that is I live my life in the understanding that that animate everything is awake in everything around me. That if she's awake in me, she's awake in everything around me, the tree, the river, the breeze. And so it's connection for me is not only about with other people, it's with place and it's giving personage to things that we've been told are inanimate, like a mountain or a rock is inanimate.
Mm,
Well, for me, if she is a field that is in and through everything, then she's also a mountain and it has her quality of wakefulness. So it for me, connection must move beyond concept to lived reality. So not just oh, isn't nature beautiful? Isn't that lovely?
mm,
I feel good. Oh, what is it that feels good? Who is it that I'm connecting with that I feel good in nature? Do you know what I mean? So it's
mm,
connection for me isn't a point to point line. It's like being
mhm.
submerged in the ocean. It's everywhere. It's everything. It's being in contact with that.
I love that. That's a
And I
great
can
visual. I can
good.
almost feel that. That's amazing.
And that I think for me is part of a huge part of my journey is that, since the Greeks began philosophizing they're mythic stories. So Homer and the Iliad and things like that. One of my teachers, Josh Schrei from the Emerald podcast, I hope I'm allowed to cross advertise here. I'd highly recommend that podcast if you want to learn about connection. Oh, where was I going with that? What was lost it doing that side ad? The field. Oh, sorry, I'm back.
Okay, you're back.
So, so the ancient Greeks used to practice things like classic, what we would consider classic poetry, like the Iliad. It wouldn't be originally sat around with a bunch of men in togas discussing and philosophizing about that poem. Originally, the poem was done as a massive poetry off, and the entire crowd at a festival would chant that and
Mm.
feel the truth. Through that, the shift to where Greek mythology became a philosophy rather than a lived experience was one of the things that contributed to us stepping away and having God and spirituality out there and conceptualizing things and putting all of the value in the concept rather than the felt sense. And so when you say, I can almost feel that, what you describe, that is the intention. That's the connectedness that I'm speaking to, is that you feel it as well as understand it.
So that's kind of nice and comforting to know that. I think we often use our minds to try and understand something, and you feel like, well, why can't I understand that, or why can't I intellectualize that? Always trying to grasp the concept of what someone's saying. But if it's kind of nice to know that I don't need to be smart or academic to understand what you're saying. I can trust my body and trust that wisdom and use that as the way to connect. I
Absolutely,
think that's
absolutely.
beautiful.
Thank you. And it takes time to learn the wisdom of your body, to learn which parts of your heart do you tune into for guidance. Like, it doesn't make sense to tune into to what's not healed yet as your guidance system, because you don't want a wound to guide you. You want
Mm.
your reconciled parts of self to be your guidance system. So learning how to tune into the healed parts of your heart to guide you in that feeling. And I agree entirely. You don't have to be an academic to get this stuff, and nor should you have to be. The language of connection should be connecting. It shouldn't
Mm.
be exclusive and belong to a small group of people who only understand it. If we're speaking of connection, then the language should be indeed connecting by its very nature.
So, what are some ways that you can connect then more to your innate wisdom and the that everything that you're talking about? What are some ways, kind of practical ways?
Practical ways, okay. For me, the breath is everything. It is not only the thing that is what's keeping the body going. Well, it's the soul. For me, the soul is really what's keeping the brain and the heart ticking over, and the breath happening. We could talk about that another day if you want. But that breath cycle, if you start with if you consider the bit where you've just finished breathing out, and then the beginning of the next breath as a birth, and then you're breathing in as life and living, and then the lungs become full, not so full that you've lost your control or mastery with them, but when your lungs become full, there's a pause there. That could be considered a death. And then the letting out of the breath could be a decay. So for me, engaging in with my breath in the thing that is the pattern of all of the cosmos, birth, life, death, decay, rebirth. If I'm engaging in that, that starts to help me, like the the solid nature of things like rooms and buildings and computers and stuff starts to coalesce away and a spaciousness happens. And in that space, I can ask questions or offer love or whatever I want. And really, because the thing that is she is the one who is doing the connecting, the act of connecting, and the connection itself. So because she's everywhere all the time in everything, that's how it is that when we engage in that breath that it's a life cycle. Every breath is a life cycle. And we add love to that. That love literally is as strong right here where I'm feeling it if I'm with that oneness everywhere. It's as strong right here as it is at the furthest stars in the universe. They're feeling my love as well. Same for everyone. It's not just me.
Yeah.
Can do that. That's it. I think that's why we're here. She is an ocean everywhere all the time.
That's wonderful.
Am I? So practical thing, breath, breath,
Yes.
breath, breath. And you can learn different ways to use your breath. I know that you work with different breathing techniques like pranayama and alternate nostril breathing and those things. Working with the breath is a really powerful way to develop connection capacity. Clearing your heart, healing your heart. So engaging in healing therapy, shamanic ceremony, ritual work, connecting with the moon in all of her phases. Connect with the moon each day. That's going to help you develop your connection. Anything you do with your heart open and your mind open in a ritual that is repeated way is going to deepen your ability in that field, whatever it is, whether you're practicing a game of tennis, whether you're doing the breath cycle, whether you're opening to the animate everything, whether you practice, the repetition is how we become good at things here on planet Earth.
So what would you say? I can hear people saying, but I practice every day and I get nothing and I don't feel what she feels and I don't feel the love and the lightness and any connection. I'm just sitting in a room listening to my mind or my breath. What would you say to someone that says that?
Well, people say that to me a lot. And I would say maybe what you're practicing at the moment isn't the right practice for you. Maybe what you're practicing is because someone else has told you to practice that. And so that would be my first thing. Is it the right practice for you? If it doesn't open your heart, if you're not starting to feel spaciousness, even if there isn't a voice or a light or anything in there, if you're not starting to feel more peacefulness within, then it's not the practice for you, I would argue. The heart center, the place we love from, the place we forgive from, the place we give from as well. That's our place of generosity. I would engage in ways to open the heart, because in every tradition that speaks to happiness or wholeness or oneness or enlightenment or, becoming, love is the way. And so if you've got some blocks there, if you're holding grudges, then finding ways to heal those hurts is going to help deepen your connection and capacity in terms of your practice. What else would I say? Be kind with yourself.
It sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said, yeah, it is. It's ongoing. I don't know that I've healed every single wound I've ever had. I find that now I'm much more empowered in the healing. I'm much more brave in coming and facing those wounds. I know that being accountable adds to my connection and my happiness. I know that being courageous to say, oh my God, I just up and I'm really sorry, and not offering a justification, just saying I'm sorry, is empowering, adds to my happiness as well as other people's, And I think, I don't know, I feel in our chats and in your email, you said, you're the target audience, and we know that not everyone's going to be in that target group of 35 to 55. I'd like to say I've successfully navigated all of those years and beyond. First of all, because authenticity is so important, first of all, figure out where it is you're just mouthing something you've been trained to mouth or believe, and where you're like, figure out where you're actually being controlled by a mass consciousness that really doesn't give a shit about your happiness, and disengage, find ways to disengage. Be an activist and find ways to choose love instead of choosing I've got a bigger gun than you, or I've got a louder, I've got a better swear word, or I've got a better put down, or I've got a, learn where you're just repeating the expressions of life that have come down through the generations of your family, where you're just repeating something rather than actually expressing your own true self.
And how do you do that?
For me, that's been through many ways, I guess. I engage in classes where I learn how to understand how privilege and whiteness, because it's a historically white culture that is dominant at the moment, how that power over type of consciousness. So I'll join classes where there are teachers who can teach me where I'm blind to how I'm living my life. And I tell you, it comes as I can't tell you how many times in my life I go, oh, I do that. I do that. I guess I've just become more accepting that I engage in those things too. And rather than, live in the shame or the guilt of it, I just get cracking on changing it. How do I do that? Through conversations with wise people, through studying of paths deeply as well as widely, and really, really being committed to my transformation, but not solely for my own benefit. I'm committed to my transformation that the ecosystem or the collective we call the whole of Mother Earth, not just humans, will benefit. Because if that field that is the animate everything is through everything, every bit I engage in my work toward surrender and transforming contributes to the entire collective. Just like every act of aggression I engage in affects the entirety of everything. Even that furthest star out there I was talking about receives my love. Yeah. So how have I learned? I get energy healings. I see people wiser than me and get their help.
It's,
um,
I think it's
yeah,
wonderful. Like it almost feels to me like there is never any end to the study of self that we have to do. And it's nice to hear that, I feel like we all, as a humanity, like we almost need to go back to university and learn about ourselves again so that we can increase the happiness around the world. But it's a forever journey. It's never like, okay, I'm perfect now and now I can just relax, you know?
correct, correct. It becomes more entertaining. And life should not be all shadow work, nor should it be all bypassing and I'm in the spiritual high of everything all the time. That to me is living half a life either way. And the only place I'd go, oh, I don't know about that, would be we all have to go back to university, because to me
World
that's one of the
University.
ways we
World University. Self University.
yeah. And also there's this place in that development where the transformation and the healing of self becomes a lived experience where you're with not only your own transformation, but that really it's the larger self, who I've been calling the animate everything. That self is forever transforming, forever giving birth, living, dying, rebirthing everything around us. And so I feel like she, which is what I call her, she is the one who's transforming, and we're experiencing a bit of that transforming as us transforming. But it becomes this thing where you're not only doing your own work, you know that you're doing that work within the context of a larger framework also transforming. That makes sense.
It does. Yeah, it does. And yeah, it does. And it almost, I just keep hearing that word again, connection, because it's not me doing it alone, it's me doing it with everybody and for everybody. So it's almost a service.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I think it is a service. It's a total service. Because if we think about how much of our history, human history, is taken up with this part where conceptualizing the the deifying of the mind, making the mind God. I would argue that science is the new God, you know. If we think about how much of our human history is that, it's about 0.001% of our human history is the last few hundred years. For 99.999% of our history, we and the cultures of that, we lived in connection with everything. And I would argue that in that time, they didn't blow up the world, they didn't destroy off the oceans. There wasn't wholesale slaughter of each other. I'm sure there were battles and wars, I'm not saying that. But, that I would consider that, and I'm not suggesting we go back to living in caves either. That's not a possibility. That would be foolish. But to adopt the cultural ways, to adopt the systems of respect and reciprocity that those cultures have demonstrated are sustainable because they're harmonious. I think that's important. I think if we consider that this is the height of our evolution, then we're dreaming. I think we're demonstrating here that this is not the height of evolution of humanity at all, because there's just all focus is on consuming, is on being productive in the workplace, is on ticking boxes that really, do they really have meaning to you? Have you asked yourself that question? Not just you, I mean all of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you
No,
know,
I get that. And I think what you've said is so relevant and to where I want to go with happiness. And I think where I went wrong is in my life, you know, 15 years ago, I was ticking boxes and I thought that's where happiness and where I was supposed to go until everything fell down and I realized all of that was empty. So how do we find happiness then, especially as women who are really busy and we're mums and we're working and we're, pressure, pressure, pressure? How do we find happiness? I mean, it's a big question, but what comes to mind?
well, first of all, rebel. Refuse to be made to do all that. Start to join with your sisters and say, you know what? We don't we do not have to tick these boxes. What actually do we all need to feel fulfilled and complete? How do we, as network and in a connected way, find ways to rebel against the system that we're all enslaved to? And for me, I am guided by the words of a famous queer African American activist from the 70s and 80s called Audre Lorde. So let me go back a step. For me, I understand that the purpose of my life is, in many ways, I used to say these words, to smash the patriarchy. Not to smash men, but to smash apart those rules and regulations that pin us all down, that cause women to think that they're not allowed to ask for help, that they're bad mothers all the time. You're encouraged to think you're bad mothers every turn. That's because you're a bad mother. So, so join together and find ways to rebel against that stuff. And the way to do that is not to smash it apart. I think because Audre Lorde said, you cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. So I've realised that even that idea of smashing the patriarchy would be trying to use those old tools of power over, dominance, to break down power over and dominance. It's not going to really work, is it? So I've come to this place where I want to compost the patriarchy instead. I want to have the mycelium of life, break it down. I want to crowd out the bad, well, not the bad. I want to crowd out the unhealthy distortion of patriarchy, and I want to plant it out with the divine feminine, but also sacred masculine, not distorted masculine. You know, I think men are just as unhappy as women right now.
Absolutely.
And it's because we're all trying to tick boxes that mean nothing. They mean nothing.
So I think you realize when you get to a certain point in your life where it's all crumbled that it does mean nothing. But there's obviously a lot of people still seeing the importance of ticking the boxes. You know, we've got to feed our kids and we've got to take them to school, and, you know, that's ticking that box. And then there's, you know, having a house and to over your head or shelter and food, and that's ticking boxes that they truly exist. And how do you, whilst I guess your priority changes and you see other boxes that are probably more important, that how do you find your way through the mess of boxes that you're saying, you know, that we used to see, and the ones that are reality, that they're there, we've got to deal with, and how do we find our way through all of that, and ultimately connect better with our own happiness?
Okay. So I reckon the first thing is to remember that you're not always going to be packing lunches, getting the kids off to school, getting them out of their beds, getting them. That's for a period of time, and your dharma is mother. You may choose work in that as well, like a job or something outside, and that, like, I'm supportive of all kinds of motherhood. And I think you would agree that in order to have any kind of energy for both motherhood and working at the same time, you need a very involved dad. You know, I think stopping thinking things like, oh, the dad of the kids is babysitting today while I'm out. They're not. They're parenting. That so it's so subtle in many ways. Like, I would sit down with my partner and maybe talk about, okay, where is it I think I've got to do these jobs, and where do I not really have to do these jobs? Or where might you take some of these jobs on? Or how might we build communities where there's support to do those things? So I think connecting with each other is the first thing. I think, you know, let go of being the perfect mother, the perfect woman, the perfect wife, the perfect human. Let go of that. That's probably the best idea, the best advice I can give you. And open your heart to yourself as a whole person, someone who gets it wrong, someone who hurts someone else at some time, someone who uplifts and nurtures, someone who both gets it right, gets it wrong, and then everything in between. Accept that you're a whole person and connect with each other, and don't put other women down. Do not put other women down. That's never going to help you. It's never going to help us change the way that being a woman has been pathologized. You know, so much about being a woman was made scientific illness, that we're emotional and hysterical, that's an illness. So I think unless we merge together, connect together, and sing our own songs, then we'll just have more of the same.
Yeah, I love that. So, Parvati, I think it would be amazing if you would be willing to maybe take us through a short, maybe 5-minute journey of wherever you want to lead us to tie everything that you've said together.
Sure.
Sound good? Yeah.
Of course. Of course. All right. So, I'm pulling my microphone around here. Okay. So, I always find it easier if I close my eyes. So, if everyone would like to close their eyes and bring your awareness to the center of your chest and sit for a moment with your breath. Notice that your chest expands and then relaxes as the air comes in and out. Notice where you're breathing from. Are your shoulders going up and down? And if they are, try to just relax them and use your belly to breathe. Push your belly out and it will pull air down to the bottom of the lungs. That's it. And then breathing out. Notice if your mind is busy, wanting to think of other things. And just quietly give it a little nod and come back to the breath. You can even let your mind know that you can think about those things later. For now, we're going to breathe. Good. On your next out breath, let the out breath be a letting go out through your body as though you can breathe out beyond your skin. Breathing in from where you breathed out to and through everything in that. Good. This time we're going to breathe out further. So out to the about 1.5 meters to 2 meters all around you, like a bubble is around you. And as you're breathing, take notice of the bubble. You don't have to see it. You don't have to hear it. Just be open to the fact that it's there. It scoops beneath you into the earth. It's out behind you, to your sides, above you, in front. That's it. And breathe in from that bubble. Awareness at the center of the chest. Beautiful. Breathing out again, out beyond the skin, out to the edges of your bubble. And back in. This time we're going to include the animate everything, that sea I said we're all permeated by and swimming in. So as you breathe out, offer love from the center of your chest to the oneness everywhere, breathing out to the edges of your bubble or beyond. And then let the in-breath bring the love back from that animate everything everywhere, including inside you. That's good. Again, breathing out and offering love. Breathing in and receiving the love back again. And on the next out breath, what if you choose that you're letting go of perfectionism? A good place to breathe out when we're letting go of perfectionism is the throat and the jawbone. So breathe in. And breathing out all through the throat, around the neck, out through the jaw, letting go of the perfectionism, the self-criticism. Good. Breathing in again. This time we're going to let go of the mass consciousness pressure of that perfectionism. So breathing in from everywhere. Breathe out through the back of the neck with the intention of unplugging. That's it. Breathing in from that, the animate everywhere, thing everywhere, the love from there. This time as you breathe out, let all of your cells and all parts of you and beyond your skin, let it fill with love. Good. And then as you keep breathing that love, maybe let yourself open to to letting go of the pressure to raise the perfect child, a child who never has challenges, who never gets upset, who never has to have difficulties or discomfort. Let go of that. You can't do it. My sisters, you cannot do that. It's impossible. That's it. Letting go and breathing in strength from all around you. Good. Breathing out, let that strength permeate everything within you and around you, knowing that you are strong enough to navigate when your kids aren't happy or have met a challenge or are in discomfort. Beautiful. Come to your heart center in the center of your chest. Put your hand on your chest and just thinking to yourself, I'm actually pretty good. I'm actually okay. I don't have to bend to that pressure. I'm doing my best to be a good human, a good woman, a good mother, a good sister, a good daughter, a good friend, a good wife. All of those roles we play. I'm doing my best. That's it. Just for a few more breaths, breathing the love that really is everywhere all the time. And very gently bringing your awareness more fully back to your body. Wriggle your fingers and toes and open your eyes.
Ooh, do I have to? So nice, so wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I
Yeah.
feel like better than a holiday.
Cool. And for anyone out there who thought, I didn't feel a thing, that's totally okay. Totally okay. You're still doing your best. You're still moving. You're still becoming.
So wonderful. So, Parvati, if you were to give the women who are listening one actionable tip that they could just take away, something they could implement straight away in their lives for when they either are overwhelmed or just not feeling that connected or not that happy, what would that be?
Get outside and lay on the ground, on grass. Lay on the grass, definitely, and just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just lay there, because she's really got you. Mother Earth really has got your back. All the energy you require, she will give you. And so, yeah, just take a moment to ground by being with the ground and breathe that. Get your kids out on the ground as often as possible too, and laying there, and or even running around. It's going to ground them too. That's my
Beautiful.
practical, actionable tip.
Thank you. Thank you. So, we're going to have a quick five. First thing that comes to the mind when I ask you this question, just a quick first thing, bit of fun. What can't you live without?
Ah, chocolate.
What's your happiest song?
Oh, oh goodness. My happiest song. I love Gayatri's song "Happy for No Reason." Um,
Love it.
yeah, that's the one that's
Your
popping into my mind right now.
your your favorite self-care ritual?
Sitting with the sky each night, connecting with the moon.
What's your favorite way to de-stress?
Sitting with the sky each night, connecting with the moon.
And at the moment, what is your favorite book or author or podcast?
Oh, favourite podcast, The Emerald with Josh Fry. Favourite book, I've got a few at the moment. The Healing Wand by Sophie Strand. The Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's a few. I've got stacks
good.
of books next to my bed. I'm sorry.
I do too. One at a time.
Yeah.
So finally, have you got another book?
Oh yes, Under the Quandong Tree by Min Maya.
Ah, okay.
Every woman, men too, could read it. There's a lot of women's teachings in it. Beautiful, beautiful book.
Okay. And
Braiding Sweetgrass.
oh yes, I have that just here above my head. They're going to keep coming.
Yeah, stop me now.
What are you working on right now? Is there a way that if people want to work with you in some way, they can do that? Or are you doing meditations, or what are you doing right now that you can share with us?
Okay, every month I co-facilitate an online new moon group with my good friend Astarte Diana. She's a wonderful astrologer, and she delivers the astrology of that particular moon. And my job is to take people on an experiential meditation or meditative journey to connect with that and to connect with the dance in the sky that's happening inside us as well. So I run that. I run an in-person meditation if you're in Newcastle once a week on a Tuesday night. I do one-on-one healing sessions. You can contact me via my email, moonforest144@gmail.com.
I'll pop that in the comments as well of the podcast so everybody has that.
Yep. They're the only things I can think of right now.
I think that might be enough.
Cool.
You really do so much, Parvati, and I meant what I said in the beginning, that you do bring so much light and love and warmth to my life. I feel blessed to have you in my life, so thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and it's a privilege to know you, darling woman. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening in. Isn't Parvati just amazing? So here's some of the takeaways. Rebellion through connection. So women can rebel against the societal norms by connecting with each other and supporting one another in their unique journeys through motherhood and through life. Let go of perfection. It's important to release the pressure of trying to be the perfect mother, wife, or woman. Embracing imperfections and acknowledging that we are whole beings with strengths and weaknesses is crucial for self-acceptance. Composting the patriarchy. Instead of using old oppressive tools, focus on creating change through nurturing and sustainable practices. By crowding out unhealthy norms and replacing them with the divine feminine and sacred masculine, we can contribute to a more balanced world. Connect with authenticity. Forge genuine connections by being authentic, kind, and respectful. Supportive communities are vital for navigating the challenges of motherhood and life. Embrace your multifaceted self. Acknowledge that being a woman involves a range of experiences, emotions, and roles. By embracing our complexities, we empower ourselves and each other. Don't forget to join our growing community of women who are tired of chasing unrealistic happiness goals. It's called the Women's Happiness Movement. Until next week, folks, so much love to you and gratitude for sharing in this journey with me. Thank you.